I'm going to go ahead and turn this orange slice off for a second because we're just going to deal with this, this bottle first. So as I zoom out, hit the zoom tool, and then hold the Alt key to get the minus. I'd like this to be a little bit larger, so I'm going to do my Command T and hold my Shift key and just move it so it takes up a little bit more space on the page. The next thing I'm going to do before I start to slice this image open is to just spherize it, and that's a filter that's up here in Filter. It's Filter Distort. It's one of the Distort filters. And I'm going to spherize it just a bit. Spherize it sort of makes things a little bit round. And if you notice in this box, I can zoom out so I can see my whole orange juice. If I spherize it less, okay, it's going to get all sort of sucked in. And you can see the corresponding grid on the right-hand side. So as I move that up, I just want to puff it up just a tiny bit so that when I slice it open, it will give more of a feeling of volume to the orange juice container, because we're going to slip those orange juice slices right inside it. So I'm going to go ahead and say OK. That looks pretty good to me. I'm going to grab my my rectangular marquee tool right there, and I'm going to make a selection starting in the middle of the cap right along the edge, and I'm going to just grab the side of this bottle, because this is the part that I'm going to now select, which I just did, and I'm going to move it up to a separate layer. So now I'm going to have the left side and the right side of the bottle on two different layers. If you think that you'd like to move this selection, you don't have to reselect. What I can do is click my arrow keys, and you see my selection sort of moving across the screen. And if I just click on my arrow keys, it will move the selection 1 pixel at a time. It's not moving the image, remember, it's just moving the selection. If I hold the Shift key, it's going to move that selection 10 pixels at a time. So once you make your selection, sometimes you just want to nudge it a little bit instead of making a whole new selection. Now, of course, if I hit delete, that's going to go away, and that's not really what we want to do. There's a shortcut key. There's the letter J used in conjunction with the Command key. It will do two things. If I just did straight up Command J, let's see what that does. Command J. Let's take a look at our layers and see what happened. Okay, let's look over here at our layers. So Command J, check this out. It just took the half of the bottle that I made and it popped it up onto a new layer. I like to think of J as jumping, so it jumped the selection onto a new layer. But again, that's kind of not what we want to do, so I'm going to go ahead and reselect that by going to Command Z and just going back one step. If I do Command J, but I hold the Shift key while I do it, Command Shift J, Command Shift J, jump it up. Now let's take a look at what happened. Command Shift J actually takes the selection that I made and jumps it onto a new layer. It cuts it off the original layer. So now if I turn off one layer, I see that I have just a half a bottle to deal with. What I want to do now is sort of open up the bottle so that I can slip my orange slice in. So Command T, I go up, my cursor turns to a bent arrow, and I'm just going to tilt this. Now, of course, it's overlapping the other bottle, the other part of the bottle, so I want to move this over as far as I can to the left, just on a nice tilt like this. And I'm just going to hit Enter. I'm going to select the other side of the bottle and do Command T and turn this one slightly this way. And I want to make sure that I get the bottle on the page. So the next thing I'm going to do is select both the layers and do Command T and just make it a tiny bit smaller so I can get both of those. We're going to actually fit this orange slice into the side of the bottle. And I'm going to transform this orange slice to make it fit inside the bottle. So Command T, I'm going to drag this up. Now I'm going to Control click and go to Distort, because this part's a little tricky. So I actually need to move this to make it look like it's actually inside a part, and as I work with this you'll see what I'm doing. So I'm laying it down, I'm squishing it so it now starts to look like it's inside. Now the problem that's not working for me here is that the orange slice needs to be above the orange juice bottle in order to work with it. So I just moved it up onto its own layer. I'm going to drag this down again. Control-click distort is a really helpful shortcut to help me sort of resize this orange slice. So you're starting to see what I'm trying to do here. Drag this up and out, up and back a bit. And you can work with that this way. Here we go. It's getting better. And now I'm going to control-click and rotate it just a little. Rotate it so it fits in there, and I'm going to hit the return key. So there we have a nice illusion. What I like to do is check down here and make sure that my orange slice isn't hanging below my bottle, so it looks like it ruins the illusion. And then up here I notice that I have to nudge it over just a little bit more. So I keep checking the top and the bottom to make sure that I've gotten it correctly. Let's zoom back out. And I think I need to make it just a tiny bit more thin. So I'm going to move that in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this side a little thinner than the other side. I'm going to rotate it a little bit too, and try to fit that in. The next filter to do is the shear filter. In the written instructions you'll see, under filter distort again, we're going to do something called shear. And we're just going to bend this line. I'm going to exaggerate it so you can see in the preview what happens. It bends the object in that direction. So I'm just going to give it a little tiny bit of a shear, and that is going to make me go back to my move tool and get that back into the position. There you go. Now I'm going to simply do the same exact procedure on the other side. I'm going to turn on this side bottle, and I'm going to turn on this orange slice. I'm going to move the orange slice above, and then I'm going to start to distort it. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. So Command T, Control-click distort, and I'm going to smush it in, and I'm going to stretch it up and back down again. And I'm going to leave this side just a tiny bit wider. I think I like to see a little bit more of the orange on this side. So I try to get the height first. Of course, this is not written in stone. It could happen in many different ways. There you go. Move this in. So now you're starting to get that illusion that the bottle has been sliced open, and now inside the bottle we find not orange juice, but an exact slice of orange. Of course, in your project, this is the tutorial that's going to teach you the method, but the project that you're going to do is you are going to pick two objects and you're going to slice them open just like this. And your objects are not going to be an orange juice bottle or an orange juice slice. So let's go ahead and fill this layer in, and so we can see our illusion a little bit better. Okay, yeah. So I see down here that I have a little bit of cleaning up to do. I have a little bit of cleaning up to do at the top to reline that. And I see these extra pixels here that I failed to get rid of before. And I can go in. Oops, I'm on the wrong layer, Mrs. DeFazio. I got to go back on the top orange juice. There it is. So that's what was giving me that little teeny bit of extra pixels, was making my selection very large. So you can go back in here and just touch up the bottom just by tapping the eraser a tiny bit on the right side of the bottle with the eraser tool. There we go. Make that go away. And the other thing we forgot to do is shear the right-hand side. You notice that this one looks a little bit better. But you can go ahead and do that on your own. You can also go back up here and make sure that your orange slice fits a little bit better. So you can move your orange slice. You can use the eraser just a tiny bit to touch it up.